Hi guys, this is the copyright and fair use matrix that I was telling you about in our night class. I wanted to go over it with you before I send it to you, since we probably won't be able to meet and you will have to do some work on your own. I wanted to share this with you now because I think that you can implement this into your teaching situations now with whatever you're using. So this is the first part of it. When you concern yourself with fair use, and two conditions exist. The content is not in public domain. You did not obtain permission from the copyright holder to use this context. So if you didn't do either of those things, then you should not use it, and you should tell your students that they should not use it. The way that they find out if something is in public domain or not, whether it's an image or text or something else, usually there is a disclaimer link on a website, or there's a disclaimer link to an image, or they can look on the About link. If those two things are there, if copyright's not prevalent and you don't see that you do or don't have copyright, you should look in one of those two places. And then if you contact the creator of whatever it is you're wanting to use, and they do give copyright permission, they usually tell you how it can be used and in what way you can recognize that it's their work. So if those two things have been taken care of, or one or the other have been taken care of, then you can move on to the next set of instructions on this matrix. As I said earlier, in fair use in public education, you have four things that you could be taken to court over, and if these things don't stand up in a court of law, then you could be in some big trouble, and you want your kids to realize this. So one of them is purpose and character. The next one is nature, amount and sustainability, and then effect. So let's go back up to purpose and character. Now, they're going to circle yes or no over here, and depending on whether they've circled more fair in each one of these, then they can assume that it's fair to use. So they ask themselves these questions: the purpose and character of the use, including whether such use is of commercial nature or nonprofit educational purposes. So is the content used for one or more of these following purposes? Teaching is usually one that we look at. Scholarship is something that you might look at for your students. So if you can check any of those, then you can circle yes, it's more fair. Then moving on to the next question, does the content create a new expression or meaning in its new use? In other words, does it transform it from what the creator intended it? If the answer is no, then it's less fair. If the answer is yes, then it's more fair. Is the nature of the work copyrighted? Is the content of factual nature, and has the content already been published by the creator? If you can circle yes to either of those, then it's more fair to use. And then the amount and sustainability. Is the content only a small portion of the whole? If you circle yes, then it's more fair to use. And then it flip-flops. Notice that from here on out, yes is under less fair, no is under more fair. Is the content at the heart of the original work? If they're taking just, let's say, the chorus of the song that's pretty popular, then you would say that that's less fair to use. If they're not using the heart of a piece of original work, then they can circle no and it's more fair. And then the effect. Could this use deprive the copyright holder from future income? If the answer is no, again, that's more fair. If it's a potential, then you'd have to circle yes, and that would be less fair to use. Could this use undermine a new or potential market for the original work? Yes on less fair, no on more fair. So if you think of Andy Warhol, who did the famous Campbell Soup art piece of artwork, did that prevent the Campbell soup makers or makers of soup from potential new markets? No, probably not. So you have to really look carefully at all of these. Could this use diminish the value of the original work? And if it's no, then it's more fair to use. If it's less, then it's yes, fair to use. My rule is if they've circled mostly more fair and not under the less fair, then they can assume that it's safe to use. I just think this is a good practice that we should get into and teach our kids about what it means, because these are future creators of work that's going to be out there. And I think if you put them in the position of something that they own, maybe they'd have a little bit more skin in the game and they would understand the fair use and copyright laws. So I'm going to share this with you. Please feel free to use this. The creator of this is a teacher at Rockwood School District in St. Louis. We do have permission to use it, and I'll send along her credentials so that you're able to credit her for this. I believe her name's on the bottom here, but if it's not, I'll send that along with it as well.